If I told you that there are only 3 hooks that keep you smoking, would you believe me? Probably not, right? All right, I'll prove it to you. Here we go. Hook number 1 is the physical addiction. The physical addiction is the nicotine hit that a smoker gets when they take that first puff of a cigarette. The nicotine releases through the body, into the bloodstream and then to the brain. This then gives the smoker a so-called good feeling of comfort, a relaxed feeling. And that feeling is the same feeling of something good, because it releases a thing called dopamine in your brain, a natural feel-good drug. Hook number 2 is habit. Everything that you've done with smoking is just a learned habit. As I've mentioned before, you've conditioned yourself to smoke. It's now become an unconscious habit. Here's other examples of unconscious habits. You get out of the shower. What do? You're soaking wet. So habitually, you dry yourself. Or, if you've been driving an automatic car for years, and then you jump into a manual car, you very quickly pick up the habit of driving a manual car, don't you? And for those of you who might be sitting there saying, well, Mark, I can't drive a manual car anyway. That's okay. How about when you walk out of your home, you habitually put on your shoes, don't you? It's something that you've done for so long that it's now an automatic or unconscious habit that you do. And that's exactly the same with smoking. You have just conditioned yourself to smoke. That's all there is to it. You know, things like holding the cigarette, having a cigarette after a meal, driving your car, after sex, etc. Just like I mentioned before. Now, hook number 3. Hook number 3 is psychological dependency. This is the hook that gets most people and keeps them in the smoking trap. It's the one that smokers use as the biggest reasons and excuses to carry on smoking. It lingers at every opportunity. Here's some examples of that. It helps me concentrate. It helps me de-stress. It breaks boredom. It's a friend or a crutch. Of course, all of those are just reasons and excuses used by the smoker. They are just false beliefs of psychological dependency. In my Happy Non-Smoker program, though, I will squash every single reason and excuse that smokers use to carry on smoking in an easy to understand way, by breaking down all the reasons and excuses used by smokers. It then reduces psychological dependency for the cigarette, and very quickly, psychological dependency will no longer exist. How good does that sound? Sounds great, doesn't it? Now, my Happy Non-Smoker program is a step-by-step process to reverse condition your mind and body through each stage. It has just 4 stages, and I'm going to take you through each stage now. You need to understand, though, if you miss any of the 4 stages, stopping smoking will be much harder. When you bake a cake, you must follow the recipe for the cake to rise and come out all nice and fluffy, don't you? And if you don't, the cake will be a disaster. Exactly the same goes for my step-by-step program. To become a happy non-smoker, a permanent happy non-smoker, you must follow the recipe. And if you follow the recipe, it will work for all smokers. Now, before I tell you about the 4 stages, please understand that I'm not going to elaborate on them too much. Why? Because there's an old saying that goes, if people are bombarded with too much information, they won't retain any of it. And that's absolutely true. And I want you to retain as much as possible, okay, for you. Does that sound okay to you? I'm sure it does. Stage 1, or SE1, okay? You must set a date. You must be ready to stop smoking, and not just in the mindset, okay? You have to make a conscious decision to stop smoking and be committed. You have to be absolutely ready to improve your health, be happier, and move on as a happy non-smoker. Does that make sense? I'm sure you understand that there's no point in just having a desire to stop smoking. You have to make a firm decision, because there's a huge difference between the 2 of them. Just having a desire, or the I'll give it a go mindset, gives the excuse that smokers use to smoke again in the face of problems or adversities. A few examples of this is, I'll stop smoking after Christmas, or that's my New Year's resolution, or I'll stop for my birthday. I'm sure you understand what I'm getting at, don't you? Please understand though, I'm not saying that won't work for you, because it works for many, many smokers. I'm just saying that will only work for about 3 to 5% of people. It's essential that you're committed to stopping smoking. It makes all the difference. So to me, why wait? Why don't you look at your calendar after watching this video and choose your stop smoking date? Or write it on a post-it note, stick it on your fridge, tell your friends on Facebook or via email. Do anything to make that commitment, but be definite. Then, by doing so, it will prepare you psychologically for your stop date. And that's the biggest part of any of the stages. So stage 2 or SE2, repetition, reinforce and repeat, repeat, repeat. To remain smoke-free for the rest of your life, you must repeat, repeat, repeat. Once you've decided on your stop date and written down by hand all of your reasons why you want to be a happy non-smoker, it's then time to reinforce those decisions. By reinforcing your decisions, it then becomes a constant reminder of your why reasons, and that's done through repetition. Does that make sense? It's just like the repetition that you used when you first started smoking. You know, when you had that first cigarette, I still remember it, the one that made you feel sick, made you cough, made you feel dizzy. You know, the cigarette that stunk like a filthy ashtray, that one. But what happened with that first one that was such a horrible experience? Through repetition and willpower, you conditioned yourself to carry on smoking. And that's how you ended up where you are now, a smoker being controlled every day by the little nicotine monster. So stage SE2 will be to recondition your mind in reverse. Does that make sense to you? Okay, good. I'm sure it does. Here's what to do to help with that process. Write down by hand all of the reasons why you want to be a happy non-smoker. For you, it might be better health, a longer life with loved ones, to have more money in your pocket or purse. I don't know, but you know. And remember, write them by hand. Why? It's been scientifically proven writing something by hand cements that information into your brain far better than just typing it out.